Hello, welcome to Autocar, the original car magazine published weekly since 1895. Now, if you wanted a usable classic car, you might alight on something like a Mazda MX-5 or even an MGB. Fine cars both. But what if you wanted one that wasn't entirely standard? Stay tuned. So this is the Rocketeer. I think we'll just listen to it for a moment, shall we? Sounds great. It sounds really nice. As well it might, because, I don't know, when used with an automatic gearbox and when muffled heavily in a saloon car, this engine always just felt smooth, refined. But at heart, it is a V6. So we'll start with this. It's a Mazda MX-5 modified by the good people of Rocketeer Cars. So it started as kind of a one-off project from a McLaren engineer, but it's kind of made a few more and it's kind of snowballed a bit more from there. Now, the most significant thing about it is that while it looks MX-5-ish from the outside, because it is, under the bonnet is a 3-litre. Come and have a look at this. A 3-litre V6 Jaguar-based unit, which has had, I mean, the remarkable thing, one, they've made it fit. It has been beefed up to 280 horsepower, which is excellent because it doesn't weigh any more than the original 1.6 or 1.8 litre engine, 4-cylinder engine that was in the MX-5 in the first place. So the weight is largely unchanged over the original Mazda. It drives through, for reasons I'll come on to when we drive this car in a minute, it drives through the original MX-5 5-speed gearbox. Come with me, I'll show you around some of the interior changes too. So the Rocketeer's interior has had a makeover, no question. I've got sort of new quilted padding here and a new finish on the top of the dash. There are new dials and there is this rather deep dish steering wheel, which I like because it brings the wheel rim a little bit closer to you, because otherwise it could feel a bit further away. There's the standard sort of MX-5 Mark 1 thing where you feel slightly sometimes if you're sitting on it rather than in it. And it is nicer in here than a regular MX-5. We've got, you know, some sort of chroming bits on things, but it is not a $1 billion makeover. And that's okay, because that's largely reflected in the price. To get this car sort of up to this spec is about £40,000, which is quite a lot less than the MG, which we'll come to in a minute. And I've always liked MX-5. I've always liked sitting in Mark 1 MX-5s because they're so compact and the visibility is so good. All of that still applies. It is still, at heart, certainly from this point of view, when it's static, an MX-5. Let's talk you through what it's like to drive. The environment is pure MX-5. Still got its original MX-5 transmission, even though this car makes more power and torque than any 4-cylinder MX-5 did. The good people at Rocketeer say the difference is that because this makes more small explosions, actually the instant impact torque through the gearbox is theoretically not as high as it would be from a 4-cylinder. So, as in, because the engine is smoother, it puts less stress on the gearbox. And it's such a nice 5-speed transmission anyway, why would you want to change it? So, it's a really sweet gearbox. That's nice. It rolls just a little. There are changes to the springs and dampers. It's nice when you just get a bit of lean in the chassis, you get some feel back through the steering wheel. There is a bit of shimmy, a bit of shake. You always get that on roadsters, especially an old roadster like this. But it effectively retains much of what was great about the original MX-5 and adds what an original MX-5 had never quite had, which is the noise of this. So you can go to town with the Rocketeer and have a full Restomod makeover. This is quite a subtle change in comparison, and a really good value one that retains much of the original car's character. But while the steering hasn't changed in fitting sort of different wheel and tyre combos, I wonder if that has affected things ever so slightly, because the original steering, it's been a while since I drove an MX-5, but just felt so natural, felt so right all the time. But then just as you turn in off this, you get around straight ahead, you get this really nice feel, really lovely response. But as you just turn a bit more, it's almost like it gets a little, suddenly sort of quickens. And that may be the wheel and tyre combo that does that. But in terms of its inherent chassis balance, that is really nice. And as you come out of a corner and come back on the power, it's clearly got a diff back there of some aggression, and it just tightens things up and it drives it down the road beautifully. This is a really, really nice car to drive. It's got a softness and compliance to the ride. There is that roadster shimmy, but if you can live with that, I think, I don't know, you get a car with a kind of a unique character. It's got that small car feel, that small car agility, and yet it's got the big serious car, the BMW M3 CSL style. Lustful engine. It's a blend that I don't recall finding in many, if any, other places. That kind of really compact car feel with a big car, serious car noise. It's bloody great. Really, really cool. I like it very, very much. And this is an MGB by, as it says on the side, Frontline, which is based in the home counties in the UK. And they take restomodding. They've been doing it for a very long time, actually. They take it in the sort of, I don't know, maybe the more traditional sense, as in they add a lot more luxury kind of value. They do a lot of bespoke stuff, but there are also some mechanical changes. Now, I'll have to just find the bonnet catch, so bear with me a moment. There we go. The big mechanical change is that instead of the original MGB engine, they've gone for a 2.5 litre sort of Mazda Ford Duratec unit. There we go, and it drives through a 6-speed Mazda gearbox to the rear wheels. So looks like it has carburetors, does not have carburetors, it has fuel injection, and it makes 280 plus, about 285 I think, horsepower, which is nice, and revs to 7,800 RPM, driving the back wheels through a 6-speed Mazda gearbox. You may have noticed that it was quite heavy to pick up that bonnet a second ago. There's quite a lot of soundproofing under here. Frontline go to some big lengths actually to sort of make this car a lot more refined, a lot more luxurious. Let me talk you through the interior and I'll show you exactly what that entails. So this is the Frontline take on the MGB, and if you want to know how this is a different kind of restomod to the MX-5, just take a look around inside. They just major massively on sort of interior luxury and feel and bespokeness, and even things like, just as the fuel pump wears away and it stops, this looks like a normal window wide handle, doesn't it? But it's not, it's electric. It's got air conditioning, it's got power steering, it's beautifully trimmed. Frontline make their own aluminium seats, put their own foam in it, basically to the customer's shape, and then put their own leather. They've got a trim shop in-house in which they do all this stuff. Most customers go to their facility to spec it just as they want it, and you can pick even how you want your dashboard laid out, stuff like that. They really go to town on it. And it's the kind of car that I think you could spend loads of time in. And so to the inside of that sort of nice raughty 4-cylinder induction noise, don't you, on the inside of this Frontline take on an MGB. The MGB originally had a 4-cylinder engine, of course, so it's quite in keeping that it does have one. And it's weird, I think if you tried this engine in some SUV in which they try to make it as refined as they possibly can, mate it to an automatic gearbox, put loads of sound deadening all around it, the idea being that you'll hear it as little as possible and use as few revs as possible. It's amazing that you can get actually a really loads of induction noise, it's got loads of burbling exhaust noise at low revs too. It's got a really long throttle pedal, like really long. It disappears into the footwell almost beyond where I can reach, even though the brake and clutch pedal are where I want them. Actually, it's a bit funny, like, this gearbox is fantastic, by the way. 6-speed MX5 box, I think. And in terms of its dynamism and its handling, well, it's got an engine in the front, it's got plenty of power going to the back wheels, and it doesn't weigh very much. What's not to like? The ride's compliant, there's a bit of roll to lean up against. Steering, you can change the weighting of the steering, but only of the power steering from a little knob on the dash, but it only changes by 10%. It's very subtle, there's very little in it. It's very linear, very responsive. Nice firm brake pedal to lean up against. It revs to 7,800 RPM. But I've got to put my foot like right down in the footwell, and that is something about this car. It's got what feels like quite a broad interior for a very compact two-seater car. It's got loads of luggage space. It's got a great low slung straight driving position with nice visibility over this bonnet. I get loads of headroom. This is an old car, a small car. I've got more than a hand's width of headroom, and I'm 5'10", and I wouldn't get that much headroom in a lot of new coupes. I mean, I suppose you wouldn't want to crash one. That's the difference between old cars and new cars primarily. It's also not as refined as a bigger new coupe for sure. There's more wind noise notably, and also, you know, it takes longer for the windows to demist and everything else. But the nice thing about it as well is you could just give it the lot, go out of second into third gear, you're still doing a legal road speed. So you can enjoy a lot of this car's performance very often. And there's something really rather wonderful about that. This car I've driven down here about 100 miles this morning to the road that we're shooting on. And I've got to say, as a usable, I don't want to make too much of it, because when some of my colleagues have asked me what it's like, and I just say it's so usable, you could just drive it all the time, it's so comfortable. It's a really special classic car, and an expensive one. The fact that Frontline goes to such lengths mechanically but also inside means that this car is effectively £125,000 from £125,000. You could spend quite a lot more than that. For me to then get out of it and go, oh, it's just so usable. But it is. Stick it in 6th gear, relax. It's got a decent audio system. The engine's turning over. We're doing 50 miles an hour. The engine's turning over at 2,250 revs. So it's about just under 3,000 revs at 60. So it's really relaxed. The drive position's great. You could get in this car, head down to the coast, jump on a boat, jump on the train, get off the other side, and just drive through the continent and have a wonderful, relaxed time in a classic car that is not tiring, and you could cover really big distances. So even the base MGB, I think, sometimes gets a bit of a hard time would be overstating it, but I think people sometimes look at MGBs and then they think, maybe I would get something with a more exciting brand name. Maybe they would have a, I don't know, some kind of Alfa Romeo or Lancia or something instead, or a Porsche, something a bit more glamorous. But I think that would undersell what this car is. The publisher I work for, Autocar, also publishes a magazine called Classic and Sports Car. You find it on the newsstands every month. The people who work there do say, actually MGBs are a lot better than people give them credit for sometimes. And I think that's true. I think the base MG gives Frontline a really good grounding to work from, to make a car that is really, really appealing in loads of ways. Because for one, I think it's an underratedly good-looking car. It's really nicely proportioned. It's very small and compact. In fact, as you go on a motorway, I know this. Look, this car's got 285 horsepower and it weighs about a ton, so you would expect it to have easy performance. But I think there's something about the compactness of size that just makes it cruise very happily at 70 miles an hour. That feels like it's natural speed. I think it's really good looking, nice short overhangs, nice coupe-ish roof line. Not complicated by trying to fit rear seats into this one. It's just really cool. So it's got that going for it. Makes a great noise with this engine. It's got this really practical but also very good looking classic interior. There is so much to like about one of these. I can absolutely see it. And when some people go, that's a lot of money for an MGB. Yeah, maybe it is for an MGB, but actually for a car that does what this car does and does it as well as it does and feels as good as it does, imagine it with a different badge and then imagine whether it's too much money. And I don't think it is. Helps if you turn in, I think, with a bit of braking load on the front to get the front sorted. And then it just drives out nicely with that lovely front engine rear wheel drive balance. There's so much inherent rightness for me about this kind of format. A small car, longitudinal engine, manual gearbox, rear wheel drive. There's so much right about that even if you didn't get the rest of the constituent parts right, that would be quite appealing on its own. But this gets so much else right. I could be very effusive about this car for a very long time. I think it is a really, really very good thing indeed. So, no winner or loser in this test. It's not a twin test of new cars that we sometimes do. It is just a celebration of two cool classic cars made cooler, made unique, made the way you want them to make them on slightly different budgets. Which one would I choose? I don't know. I like them both and I really love them as base cars. And if you'll excuse me, I may now head off to the classifieds to look at MGB GTs. Meantime, thank you for joining me. We're here every week over at Autocar. The motor show is back. We have twin tests, we have reviews of new cars, we have cool stuff like this. We have vodcasts too. You can also find us over at autocar.co.uk. Please do. And before you go, if you click subscribe button and like this video, I would be unbelievably grateful. Thanks a lot. See you next time.